Hi, everyone. We all constantly talk about how our lives are so much better and our businesses are better because of the influences that we have. Dealing with the smartest people in the room. We're going to have a great guest talk about his book, and he has been a monumental mentor to us right after this. So, David Phelps, I know you guys have heard us talk about Dr. David Phelps and his Freedom Founders group. Again, been very instrumental to us in how our business has progressed, not just our businesses, but our personal lives as well. I'm Bill Fairman. This is Wendy Sweet and Jonathan Davis. We are Carolina Capital Management. By the way, if you're a borrower and you're looking to borrow money in the Southeast, because that's where we lend, go to carolinahardmoney.com and click on the Apply Now tab. If you're a passive investor and you're accredited, click on the Accredited Investor tab. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, hit the button. Is it a bell?
It's hit the bell.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm also old, so I can't see very well.
I just wanted to say something.
Yeah.
So I said something through this whole broadcast.
He snuck it in.
Later on, we'll be able to have someone else in the room speak. And by the way, if you have questions or comments, we have a chat box either to the right or to the bottom of your screen, depending on what platform you're viewing us from. So without further ado,
I do.
David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, hey guys, it's great to be with you. It's always fun, and I'll be interested to see how many other people get to talk besides Bill today. So I'll keep count on my side. All right, I'm watching.
That's what we need is an independent scorekeeper. So that's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I'm amazed every time I see you on video in front of your bookshelf. Have you actually read all those books?
Or is that just wallpaper?
Yeah, it's a green screen. I take it wherever I go. That's always behind me. No, see, I can actually go back here and I'll pull out, book here. Here's one. Now, see, it's a real thing. Like the Great Getty. So this is real books back here.
See, I don't have time for that. I have to do it in the car. So back in the 80s, it would have been cassette tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, it would have been 8-track.
That's right.
And then now we can stream and do Audible and better ourselves while we're in the car.
But I like paper. In fact, I miss that. I Audible a lot, but I like paper. I like turning the pages. I like making notes and that kind of thing. And just the smell of a book.
Yeah, and paper helps you light your fires too.
Yeah.
That's right.
But enough talk about paper. Let's talk about.
So, as we said in the beginning, you've been a monumental influence on our lives, and we really appreciate it. And one of the great things about you is that you're a giver, and you are constantly want to give information. And I want to say this to the right people, and I'm not saying it because
He's talking.
I'm not. I mean this in the greatest way of the right people, the people that actually want to take that information and do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And in reading your book, and it's the book is What's Your Next. By the way, we have a link to how to get that book in our chat as well, folks.
Yep.
What kind of stuck out to me is, the obstacles that we all run into in life, and it becomes a wake-up call where you have to change course. And we all know that there are no straight lines in nature. There's always going to be obstacles that are being thrown out in front of you. Talk a little bit about what your wake-up call was, if you don't mind.
Well, I was very focused on what my life was going to be when I was young. I was in school and taking classes, and I'm going to, become a dentist someday, but I had to do all the college and graduate school stuff. But I'm on that path, and kind of had laid out that, you know, I want to have a family and this many kids, and, you know, it's all going to be good, right? And my daughter, Jenna, at age 2.5, she was diagnosed with high-risk leukemia. Well, this is something that I hadn't personally dealt with in my immediate family. Nobody in my immediate family had ever had any really bad health issues. So this was like new. And for the only child, it's just like, you know, first you just don't believe it, right? And you think, well, this is kind of a mistake, or it's a bad dream or something. But, you know, once reality sets in, it does, those kind of things change your life. You know, kind of you know, watershed moments that can, you know, change your perspective. And it didn't change mine completely right away. I still felt like, well, we're going to get through this. And she did. Jenna survived it. It wasn't easy. My marriage to her mother didn't survive, unfortunately. And it's a no fault situation. It's just, you don't know what you don't know. And all the focus changes real quickly to, you know, what was about me and me building for the family and all the stuff you want to do as to provide security. Now it's, you know, it's refocused, you know, totally on survival for your child. And that takes a toll on other relationships. It takes a toll on a lot of other things because your focus gets driven to one thing. But, you know, Jenna survived that. She had some years of issues with epilepsy and had to take medication for that. And then at age 12, she was in end-stage liver failure, you know, a consummation of all the chemo and the drugs and medications she taken. Her liver, you know, just couldn't filter it all. And so it quit working. And so that was another very scary time. That again, it's back to trying to figure out, you know, how to get her through this. And through all of that, you know, it finally, you know, it takes me a few times. I mean, I'm very hard-headed. I'm very stubborn. I probably, like a lot of us, right? You know, I'm not quickly taken off of track. Excuse me, off of my track. But that time when Jenna was in the hospital, and I'm actually sitting there in her room, watching her, you know, sedated, tubes, IV, oxygen, and just watching her breath, her breathing, and realizing how tenuous life is. And that's when I had time to really think and reflect, because, you know, most of the time I was always just doing, just going hard. I was, you know, I had my dental practice. I've always been involved in real estate, you know, love it all, right? It's all great. It's all fun. I've always got to be doing something and building something for the future. And I realized that, you know, that future might not come. Like the future that I wanted, which was the family, right? And so here I am and trying to figure out, well, why am I still doing the things I've been doing up to this point? Why am I still doing this? And could I look at life differently? Could I change course? Would God still give me and Jenna more chances? I mean, is she going to get through this? Because I felt like I'd been given some chances, and maybe I hadn't totally stepped up to the plate. You know, like I said, stubborn, hard-headed. So that was the point in time when I decided I was going to make a change. I kind of drew a line in the sand right there in that hospital and started making my plans to sell my dental practice. And, you know, I didn't have it all figured out, but I made that decision. And, you know, fast forward, I'm doing things a lot differently today. But I would say that if not for that serious moment in time when I was sitting in the hospital with Jenna, that, you know, no telling what I'd be doing today. But I got to really focus on her. She made it through all that. She's, you know, she'll be 29 this year. Amazing that little girl has grown up to a young adult, and, you know, her health has been better in this last third of her life, this last 9 years, than it was in the first 18 by a long shot. So a lot of blessings, a lot of learning for me, for her. Certainly a difficult time, but also I think her character is stronger. She's resilient, as most kids are, but she has a perspective of life that, you know, most kids her age and her peer group don't have. And I think it's a healthy perspective also for the blessings we have, and that you know, nobody is given a free pass, you know, on this earth. We're going to go through tough times. We will until our last breathing days on this earth. So how do we make the most of it? How do we potentially change the definition of what society and many people have told us, well, life's supposed to be about? That definition of success, right, is what I'm talking about. And I was focused on my definition of success very early on. Well, I've changed what that looks like today, but I had to go through some iterations and some character remolding to change all that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, didn't she write a book too?
She did. She wrote a book. Gosh, it's been about 8 years ago. But she wrote a book called Get Up. And it was her story about what she went through. And it was to be motivational, inspirational to like her peer group, to other families and kids, because, when you're going through all this stuff with a child and you're in and out of hospitals all the time, you're meeting other families with similar situations. And
Sure.
so there is a community spirit, which is great, because you never want to do life solo. You got to find people, you got to find a tribe, people. And so the support groups of other people are going through, you bonded, made friends, because, the rest of the world's out there doing their thing. And you're in this, group of seeing these same kids and families, and they're in and out of the hospital, and they're losing their hair, and all the stuff. But it actually is kind of a cool community of people that have faith and are about surviving. Not everybody survives, but survives on earth. But with faith, that even when the days on earth end, that we do go to an eternal life, and that's what you feel. So you had to deal with people that actually lost loved ones, and it's hard, but that bonding, that community spirit, I think was what also helped a lot of people. And so Jenna wrote that book because she was inspired to, because she had made it at that point. I mean, gotten through the worst, at least to that point in her life. So yeah, she did write that book.
Yeah, I actually got a hold of that book at one of our meetings a few years back, and my daughter read it, and she absolutely loved it.
I remember. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was really neat. So one of the things that I love about the way that you operate is the way that you have found to protect your time. Because time, you can't really put a price on it, and it's something that once you spend it, you never get it back. So talk a little bit about how important it is to protect our time.
Yeah, it's super important. We're actually, Bill was on call with me last night. We were doing some interesting stuff on kind of our behavioral profiles, and people, a lot of people, and I'm one of those. I like to help people. I like to give back. If I know something, if I have an experience, if I can help somebody get through something faster without, making the same mistakes I did, that's awesome to do. And so in life, when we want to serve, but then there's a lot of people that will ask of us, for our time, because, well, that feels good. It feels good to be wanted. We want to feel wanted by other people. We want to feel needed. We want to feel like we have something we can give back. So it's very, very difficult many times to say no. Because we always want to say yes. And so putting some boundaries on what you're willing to say no or yes to is very important. And I think to do that, you have to have some filters. And those filters are built on really what your personal goals are in life. And you need to lay those out. You need to be clear. Mine aren't going to be the same as yours or anybody else's, but you've got to lay those out. And once you have those goals established, and there's going to be categories of goals. I mean, there's self-care, there's care for a certain group of people. It could be your family. There could be your business. There could be your investors. Whatever. But you've got these filters, and when something comes up and somebody asks you, and there's giving, there's charitable giving of time and money. So when somebody asks you, could you, hey, Bill, Wendy, Jonathan, could love to have you participate in our whatever it is, you got to look at your filter list and just decide, what your allocation is. And you've got to be able to say no with compassion, but realize if you don't protect your boundaries, then you're not going to be good for the areas that you've decided where you want to focus your time, your energies, your impact. So hard to do, but I find that I have to get help, and that's why I surround myself with other people like you guys in the mastermind groups we're in, because many times we need that perspective. We need a third party to just check ourselves against, it's that accountability, and if I have a concern about something like that, I'm going to ask, people like you who I know I can trust to give me objective advice and maybe perspective, maybe ask me some questions that give me clarity. And I think so it's really important that we have that clarity, the filters, and other people that can help keep us keep us straight with some guidelines and guardrails.
It doesn't hurt to have that gatekeeper handy as well.
Yeah.
Well, so that's another little trick, right? It's a good trick, but by gatekeeper, yeah, we're talking about somebody that is actually on the front end of most of your communications. So now I do not answer my phone. I will answer it if there's a scheduled appointment, but I don't answer my phone. It's never on vibrate or ring tone or anything. It's just in silent mode the whole time. My emails are all filtered by my assistant, Lindsay. As my scheduling, my calendar is all handled by Lindsay. You and I, the three of us didn't talk about setting up this meeting today. Lindsay set that up with your people. So, and so she sets that up and then just tells me, what to do, where to show up. But she also has guardrails. She knows to protect me and my time, because it will get away. If you leave me to my own devices, I will be filling my calendar up with scattered stuff everywhere. And she knows she's got to keep me like organized and straight, because I do have a propensity to have a lot of ideas and I like to be involved with stuff. And, it's just, but yeah, you got to have someone that helps you like, no, David, nope. you're not doing that. By the way, how did you guys get through? I know, I'm just kidding.
We have ways.
I got to go back and ask her about that. No, this is fine. I would do this with you guys any day of the week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I wanted to ask you, David, like when figuring out, when doing this, what gives you energy? How do you know where to apply your energy? You create this protection of time. How do you identify what gives you energy, and then how do you maximize that?
Yeah, that's really good, Jonathan. That's something I talk about in the book is, and as you're going through life, you're starting with whatever your initial job career path may be, and it may be something you stay with. I mean, but I'm always talking, the book's about what's your next. So what's your next doesn't mean you have to leave one career path and just go completely to something else. I mean, it can be, but it means you can iterate even in your path. Well, I mean, like for Bill and Wendy, you guys have been involved in real estate and mortgages going back many, many years, but you don't do today what you did back in 2008. That's an iteration. That's a what's your next, in my opinion. So when you're looking for any kind of transition or pivot, Jonathan, is that you got to follow your energy. Yeah, I mean, because there's things in life that it drains us. Well, I mean, for me, it's if I got to sit through like long, laborious meetings that aren't well defined. I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, now put me on a meeting where you got a pulse and things are happening and people are getting stuff done. Boom. Okay, I can be there and be energized. Another example is what I didn't realize until later in life is that doing small technical work, which is what a dentist does, very, very small, magnifiers on, you're in the mouth, you're just dealing with, micromillimeters. I could do that in chunks of time. I like to get in, fix problems, and kind of get out, and yet I went to courses that talked about doing these big, large rehabilitation cases, cosmetic implants, where you'd have a patient sedated in the chair, like sometimes all day. Wow. Where's me out? I can't do that. See, I've got to be moving. So for me, if I was still in dentistry, I would be very, very defined about the fact that I would be the guy who would do like triage and treatment plans and do some of the smaller cases. I would send the bigger stuff to somebody else who could do those. But you don't know that. If you're not conscious of that, then you try to be all things to all people and do all things. It's ridiculous. You've got to find your lanes. What are your strengths? What gives you the energy? Because if you're doing stuff that sucks your energy, and this goes for any of your great staff or employees, if they're the same thing, they may be smart and responsible, but if they're in a place where the job duty that they've taken on, or you kind of put them on because you thought they'd fit there, if it's not their thing because it's sucking their energy, you're not going to last long. And you wonder, well, this is a good person. They had high marks on and it's like, why isn't this working out? Well, there's a conflict in the drive, and we're all different. And that's the neat thing about life is we're all different. So when you find complementary skills and personalities and energy drives, you start to put those together, and that's what hums. But see, I never understood that. I thought early in life, you just had to show up and you just did whatever was in front of you. And you don't have to do that your whole life. I mean, maybe initially we had to do jobs. I mean, like I worked with a street crew, and I, painted the curbs. And I mean, that wasn't a job I wanted to do for the rest of my life but it was a starting point, but don't stay there is my point. Don't stay stuck in something that's not driving your passions. You can move even within your current construct, whatever that is, and find that place like, this is where I should be doing, right? And let other people do these other cool things. So that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Glad that Bill let you ask that one, Jonathan.
Well, I wanted to just, if I could, add on to that. One of the things that I have found.
Is it your turn?
Yeah.
It's still my turn. That I've found is to distinguish between an accomplishment high and truly something that gives me energy. Because like when I accomplish something, whether it's in the weeds or whatever, when it's done, I feel a high, and you can almost mistake that for energy.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a while to realize, like, yeah, if I dive into a title policy and spend 4 hours looking at it and find something great, I accomplished it, I feel good, but that didn't give me energy. So it took a while to figure that out for me.
Makes my head hurt.
Oh, mine too. But we know there's people that love to do that, right? So,
Yep.
so right, but. So you're kind of talking like checking off the list, okay? Yeah, I mean, there is
people who like to keep a list and check it off. And
I mean, there's
take that for energy.
No, I mean, there's always a to-do list, but I think the key thing here is whatever you see that needs to be done. Who can you find besides yourself to do the things that don't give you energy? So yes, there's these things that have to get done in the business, in the day, or whatever you're overseeing. But who's the who that could come in and actually do that, where they love to do that? They love their detail. They love their whole life is, what can I find in the title policy that like is needs to be brought to the surface here, because they love that. It's the discovery, right? It's like, for me, it's like, no, you have at it, right?
Me too.
Yeah.
In your book, you talk about the 5 freedoms: finance, time, relationships, health, and purpose.
Yeah.
They're all important. I find that, I'm good at it. I go through phases where I really concentrate on 2 or 3 of those and I'm doing well, but the others drop off. Like, when COVID came and shut us all down and my health club shut down, I've lost my health. I'm just now getting back into the exercise part. And then my purpose is off a little bit, because now I'm making sure I'm exercising all the time. So talk a little bit about those 5 freedoms, and even how can you keep focused on all 5 of them?
Well, you're right, Wendy. It's difficult to focus on all of them all the time consistently. I kind of said it in the pyramid, right? So at the base is financial freedom. It's not the end all. And see, I think for too many people, it's like that becomes the end all. What's financial freedom? Well, what's that mean? Well, how much is enough? But we talk about, just to be very brief, we talk about the freedom number. So if you create enough passive income, which is, heck, real estate will do that all day long, to give you that base financial freedom at the base, where you don't have to necessarily do something for work. Not that any of us would quit, because we love to be involved. But when you have that, then the next 4, as you described, which would be time freedom, relationship freedom, health freedom, and freedom of purpose, then it opens up the opportunity to go more towards those. Because I don't know if you all like me, but I was working really hard to try to find that financial freedom, years of my life, and thinking that was going to be a goal that I wouldn't get till, quote, retirement age, which is, when's that? 65, some mystical age. And so I did the same. Yeah. So I did the same thing. One, I didn't value my time. I would just, it was just like crazy. I would just doer. Relationships. I put up with all kinds of people and things and staff and patients that today I would never do, but I thought I had to do it because I didn't have financial freedom. Health, same point. There was times in my life where, when Jenna was sick and stuff, I'm not saying that was a wrong excuse, but yeah, I let the health go. And purpose, oh my gosh, purpose, I didn't ever even think about purpose and impact and meaning. I mean, again, that was something that's going to be on my tombstone. So let's just put that on down the road, right? So I think you're right. There's not going to be a perfect balance of all of those, but I think if you keep that pyramid in place and you look at it, and as long as you are working towards that financial freedom goal, you don't have to hit it. But I think the ability for people to have the certainty that they're on a track that's going to get them there, and not just this mystical retirement age, that gives them the latitude to work up that pyramid into the other freedoms sooner. And so you're not waiting for that mystical someday. And then, oh, now I'll get healthy. Now I'll find good relationships or mend old relationships. Now I'll find my purpose. Now I'll get healthy. Too late. Got to be doing it all along.
This is kind of an inside joke, but if David had a family crest, it would be a triangle.
Well, it's because I can draw it fairly well. I mean, maybe not isosceles with perfectly even sided, but I can sort of get it. You can see I can do it with my. If I can do that, I can do it. See, I can't do a square. I don't know how to do a square. I mean, maybe it doesn't work out for me. So triangle works.
Well, you were hitting a little bit on purpose. Let's talk about legacy. Your next. People are always thinking, well, what do I do next? Well, it all comes from your heart. What kind of a legacy do you want to leave? You may have a family that you want to, continue on generations. Maybe you don't. What other kind of legacies are available to you in your next? And I'm assuming it's whatever is driven in your heart to do so. What's your take on that?
So I used to think in days past that the word legacy meant, kind of what you would hand off to the next generations in terms of wealth, money, assets, what you leave in your will or your trust. I mean, to me, that's what legacy was. And as I matured over the years, I realized, well, actually, you're living your legacy every day right now. It's not that end game thing. Like when they're reading your will, no, that's too late. It's too late. You can certainly provide assets and resources, and there's ways to do that, I think, efficiently and with responsibility. So I'm not saying that that's not part of it, but I think legacy is more not what you leave to people, what you leave in them. So again, I think that comes from who we are as people, our heart, our character, our soul, our values, and giving to people who will listen some of the wisdom and to be resourceful. We're all entrepreneurs here. I think the world needs entrepreneurs. We're risk takers, not unmitigated risk takers, but we're doers, and the world's got to have people. And I want to encourage other people, particularly young people today, because I think there's a loss of a sense of what do I do with my degree, my education, and my debt, and do I just get railroaded into having to do some job? And I don't want young people to feel that kind of frustration or despair. I want them to realize that even in the midst of economic or political divisiveness or whatever it is, that there are always opportunities to own your own path, to own your own freedom. You don't have to follow a path that society says, well, this is what you got to do because this is who you are, this is the debt you have, or this is the degree you have. It's like, no, don't throw that out. You can be your own person. So I think legacy is way bigger than the wealth you leave to other people. It's what you can do constantly, today, every day, what you do, maybe in just small ways. My dad, I just got to give you a quick story. My dad, he was a physician. But I remember when I was young and I got to go with him to do his rounds at the hospital when I was old enough, that he could take me, and I would just be quiet and, stand in the corner, but I remember going through the hospital and he would always acknowledge anybody that came, whether it was in the cafeteria, custodian, a person relatively low on the totem pole of patient care, right? I don't care who it was. And if he knew their name or they had a name badge, he called them by name. Now, see, to me, that's legacy because it's very small, but what kind of impact can you potentially leave somewhere each and every day? It can be that much, and it can be huge to the person you leave that in.
Excellent.
We can't help but mention your book, Apprentice.
Apprentice model.
Yes, my teenage boys have read that book too, and I love the way you talk about what they have available to them, and that's a wonderful book too. And I know we're not here to talk about that one, but I have to plug that one too because that's really, really good. And Jonathan he's up next with his question.
Actually, we are at the bottom of the hour.
Oh.
and we are
Wait,
protecting
we have
each
so
other's
much
time.
more.
And we have a ton of questions we could go through, but
Yeah. Wow.
that's why you need to read the book.
Yeah.
And to get to the book, it is findyournext.com. Findyournext.com. It's available in bookstores everywhere as well, but go here.
Go to this bookstore.
That's easy to do.
That's right. David, thank you so much for
It's-
joining
thank
us
you.
today.
Such good info.
No,
Folks.
Bill, Winnie, and Jonathan, it's always a pleasure. Love you guys and love what you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Again, folks, we are Carolina Capital Management. We are a lender in the Southeast. If you are looking to borrow money, carolinahardmoney.com, click on the Apply Now tab. If you're a passive investor looking for passive returns, click on the Accredited Investor tab. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell. I said it right this time.
You did well.
Yes, you did.
And we have another show coming up here shortly, where there's a link to it as well. Again, thank you so much to David, and we'll see you guys soon.